Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, you'll know that it all starts with an idea and some intellectual ammunition. For what? To start changing things. Now, the last time we checked in on the presidential election, Ahn Cheol-soo, our maverick candidate, or sort of like that, the always the bridesmaid but never the bride, had offered a sort of wedding with now the conservative candidate, because he swings both ways. Before offered to be wedded to liberal candidates before, so this time it was the conservative candidate, and that's why he's sort of like political gold. He can go both ways. And so he had an offer, and this time it was sort of like, he was always gonna be like relegated to the sidelines, and this time it was more of like, yeah, he wanted to be the candidate. And it seemed as if Yoon Suk-yeol, the conservative candidate, was kind of like just shuffling his feet, and his camp, they did send in negotiators, so it did look like it was pretty serious along some respects. But in the past few weeks, Yoon Suk-yeol's numbers have been going up and doing pretty well. So Ahn Cheol-soo's leverage has gone down, and so there was supposed to be some sort of big announcement, but 2 hours before it, Ahn Cheol-soo came out with a special press conference and said like, yo, pulling out, say like, see ya buddies, I'm gonna go to the end on my own, deals off the table. So there's gonna be, at least now, these things, we're really close. We are we are weeks away from the presidential election. I think it's March 9th. And I guess there's still a possibility where they might merge, but officially, Ahn Cheol-soo is saying like, I'm taking this solo to the end. Now, the reason why it might be actually worth it in the political calculus is a gamble on whether Lee Jae-myung is really gonna, and in the last heat, is that what you call it when you're like running around, like, in a marathon or like one of those relay races, gonna really stumble, because there is a lot of stuff coming out, and it might really trip him up, and he might not finish the race. So before we get into the debate, they just had the third debate, and it was colorful. Oh my god, it was like colors all over the place. But we found out, apparently there's allegations now. We found out who the parasite was, because remember, like, his wife was ordering like 50 Subway sandwiches at a time, and people are saying like, are they selling it like on like, like 당근시장, which is basically like the Carrot app, which is essentially like, where you sell like your used stuff, but sometimes people sell like food. And they're like, how does like 2 people or a family eat like 50 Subway sandwiches? Well, they looked up the records, the real estate records of the apartment next door to the liberal candidate Lee Jae-myung, and found out that it was actually rented to one of like another, this is the favorite thing that guy likes to do, like one of the city's companies that was managing not a construction project that is involved in the big old corruption deal scandal that has people missing all over the place in Daejang-dong, but a different place called Dongtan, which is about 20 to 30 minutes south of where they live. And apparently there's supposed to be like 4 dudes living there, and it was supposed to be like their dormitory, but people are just like, okay, if you're making people live there and go to work, why don't you have them work in Dongtan, like in the actual city where they're managing the projects? Because this is not like one of those executive houses or house relocations, but it is like on an executive size level. So it's shady all around. what they think it was used for essentially was campaign. Like they were using like the city funds that was supposed to be for this project to develop a construction site, but using it as the campaign headquarters. No wonder his campaign looks so good. So the allegation is that actually like right next door, how convenient, his campaign headquarters that is funded by city money, which is illegal because it's not supposed to be funded by taxpayers. That his campaign headquarters was the apartment next door, and that's why it was huge. And they were pretending that there were 4 staff members from the Dongtan construction project were living there, which would make no sense because they should be living, you know, way south, like 20 or 30 minutes south, not next door to the mayor. And then they apparently when they questioned those 4 people, they're like, oh, we had no idea the mayor was living next to us. Oh, honey, you know every single person down to the trash collector in that apartment complex brags to every single person, you know, including their bus driver, that they know the mayor personally because they run into him in the apartment complex. Okay, if you're living right next to the neighbor, you are sucking up to him and you're probably helping that poor assistant wash the strawberries to make sure that there are no defects or whatnot. So those people are apparently the ones that ate all those sandwiches. Or if it really was 4 guys living there, did they eat 10 sandwiches each? See how shady this is all around? Anyhow, so that's the updates on An Chul-soo's, you know, merger that wasn't. So again, you know, bridesmaid that's never the bride or runaway bride. And then the parasites that were actually living next door, allegedly. So this debate was long. It was like 2 hours. It was so colorful. It was like the color behind them was like, you know, their party's color. And it was like, you know, that game Simon? I was just like, oh my God, like they really just like amped up the colors. The format was very similar to the K-debate format. If you didn't see that video, love that format because it just keeps them talking to each other and arguing with each other. And this was very tense this time. It was even more argumentative. But what I found very interesting was Lee Jae-myung looked a little rattled. I think he wanted to come off a little bit like argumentative, even dare I say sassy, which normally he can pull off. And remember I said he is the consummate performer, and I would think in his wheelhouse he could do sassy, but sassy comes with humor, but there's something really weighing him down. That's why I think he's about to crack. That's why I think these things are real. Because you know what just happened today is that like those people that were involved in that actual construction scandal where all those people went missing and went to another universe, they got prosecuted. They are now in hot water, but he probably knew that it was coming. But with the questions coming from each other, it is like the Hunger Games. They're looking more at each other, like, you know, shooting and like responding. And they were really flippant. They're like, answer my question. Okay, I'm going to ask you again because you're supposed to answer the question. And then they're like, I did answer the question. And if you're not going to answer my question, then you are just like saying that you're guilty. And Lee Jae-myung was really coming off as guilty and not funny. He did not come off as a good performer. He came off looking real shady. He was getting really messy, and he is taking a real aggressive approach now to trying to deflect off of his own real estate scandal by saying that the key figure who is going down for this corruption, which is basically like one step away. He said, oh, I don't know her, okay? He's like, oh, I don't know that person. And then everyone is just like rolling their eyes. And then An Chul-soo is giving all sorts of good face. And he said that I don't know her, or, it's him, but, basically like, I don't know her. And he said that actually he has these phone recordings that they released this week saying that, like, actually, Yoon Suk-yeol, this guy I don't know, actually bought your daddy an apartment with this money from this fund that was corrupt. So if you want to look into this corruption, then you got to look at your daddy's apartment. So this is turning into like some really, really, really messy drama, because Yoon Suk-yeol was like, let's look into this land scandal because this guy who is the linchpin of this corrupt land scandal that has been funneling money out of taxpayers and putting it into your pocket and putting it into your presidential campaign. And then Lee Jae-myung is saying like, no, but $3 million of it went to your daddy's apartment. It is just really weird. Like, maybe if it is all true, then both of them are guilty. And then, come on, Ahn Cheol-soo. If both of it is real, then you really got to step it up in the last, it's basically like, if it is this like race, and if it really is these two that are really gonna explode at the end, if you can't pull this through, then that's your fault, because this is like the sent from the heavens, okay? Like, there's nothing, you can't get anything more than this, I think, in politics, where it's just wrapped up together by the same guy who's already been prosecuted right now and been found guilty. Ahn Cheol-soo, if you want to win this, then you just gotta like pump it up and go for it. And so the problem with Ahn Cheol-soo, I think, with this debate was that he did know what he was talking about, and he does know how to hold two conflicting ideas at the same time and figure out a solution. And so a lot of this debate was focused on the economy, especially during the whole cerveza virus that we're in, and a lot of it was dealing with how people are going to afford their lives, the household debt problem, and he really wanted to focus like on a two-track solution, try to help the vulnerable population with weakened credit to try to make sure that they're going to be able to afford rising interest rates, and then also figure out systems that, use mathematical equations, and then also use big data platforms and that kind of like digital economy to boost growth. And I think he kind of loses people in the weeds a bit, and then Yoon Suk-yeol really attacks him on that by using his sort of kind of like, well, I don't really understand this thing, and I don't think most people understand that, and it's not gonna really work out. And then, Ahn Cheol-soo's all like, like he gave like, because, like time is precious, because once you open your mouth, your own time meter goes down. So Ahn Cheol-soo knew that, and he was at least given his faces, which was good. But then when he opens his mouth, he sounds so monotone and just kind of like this. And so that, I think he needs to kind of like, punch it forward a bit. Now, Shim Sang-jung, I have to admit, she actually does sound the most presidential. And I think obviously when they say, yes, that National Assembly, like being an assemblywoman or our version of being in Congress, does prepare you the best for being president here in Korea, I think that does really ring true, because she communicates, I think, really well. And the way she actually communicates is more of like that mother that tells you exactly what she is getting you in trouble for, like, why you're in trouble, and she is exactly telling you what she's gonna do to punish you. And for her big statements were all about making the taxes go up for homeowners who have higher priced property, and saying that that is somehow going to solve the what she considers property speculation. And she even went and attacked Yoon Suk-yeol, saying like, okay, well, do you know how, like, she looked up his taxes. She said, do you know how much you paid in property tax for your like $2 or $3 million apartment? And he's like, well, I don't know, maybe like $1,000, but it didn't count the estate taxes and asset taxes. And she said, yeah, okay, you add that all up, it'll probably be no more than $4,000 a year. But people who pay for, these young people in Seoul who are paying for these tiny rooms are going to be paying at least $8,000 a year in rent. And do you think that that's fair? We have to be able to like tax you more so that we can bring prices for houses down, so I mean, she's very clear in like, communicating like, yeah, that does feel bad, but the problem is that what she says is kind of like making him hurt will probably not create a solution for reducing the hurt of the person she wants to help, which is legitimate. But I don't think that just because making him hurt is going to create more affordable housing supply. Like, I don't know where her math works out on that either, because who's going to actually fund the capital for actually building the housing supply and, getting them into it? It's a big process. And so, but she communicates really well, but every single thing that she was talking about is basically trying to chop off people at the knees, corporations, businesses, and anybody who she deems wealthy, which who are, just anybody kind of even middle class. So that's why her polling is like 1% to 3%, although she's always a presence in national politics because she does represent a strong voice for the disenfranchised. She's also very smart, she's a very capable lawmaker, and she is a very strong voice in social justice issues in legislation, and I'm telling you, she sounds the most presidential. And she's good at attacking everybody too. So in general, I think this debate really is showing kind of like the fatigue of the candidates now, of like how, we've had them on stage, which is great, on the national stage, going through these battles. And now we are seeing like how it's solidifying a bit, and we really do need to see them more fight each other, and more debates are coming up. There are like about 12 candidates, I believe. And so the minor candidates are having their own debate, so they're not being forgotten, but some of them are like weird, and I think like one of them is involved in like some weird cult or something, more than one maybe. But I think now it is becoming clearer that Mr. Lee Jae-myung is unraveling a bit, but we have to still see how this is all going to pan out. The wife really did a number on Lee Jae-myung. The thing about her steaks and hormones and her Goyard and his Hermes and like her sandwiches and his scandals, it is weighing him down right now. Yoon Suk-yeol's wife weighed him down as well, but not as much as those graphic depictions of like trays and trays and trays of sushi that have been charged to taxpayers and fruit and stuff like that. People remember that kind of stuff, but I don't know. Lee Jae-myung might be able to lob back with this whole apartment thing, but it still might be far-fetched. But these prosecutions of the key men who were involved in the land scandal do not do him any favors right now. And so we may see something. But like I said, this is prime opportunity for An Chol-soo if he can take it. But now I'm wondering, Anchosu, do you got it? Do you got it in you to be able to bring it home? Because you laid it on the line by saying, like, I'm not going to merge with you. So now you are essentially not only doubling down, tripling down on this to be able to use this to your advantage, to be able to clear both of them aside and then get to the finish line. What do you guys think? Leave your comments below, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.